Om Mani Padme
Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme
Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This morning we have our speaker, our good friend Maharjan. He's going to lead the meditation and the Dhamma talk also. So Sai, you can do your meditation program right now, maybe 15 minutes. Then after that you can start your Dhamma talk. Again, thank you being here, Sai, and I really appreciate your help. Thank you again.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, we can start with a brief chanting, and you can just listen to the chanting, but we'll start meditating after us in a second. Namami Buddhang Gunasagarantang Satta Sada Hontu Sukhi Avera Kayo Jigucho Sakalo Dugandho Gacchanti Sabbe Maranang Ahanche. You can adjust your seating position, and we'll practice a few minutes of mindfulness meditation. And after that, we'll transition to loving kindness. As you begin practicing, you can rest your right palm on your left palm, and you can gently touch your thumbs, connect your thumbs to each other. And if you're sitting in a chair, try to lean forward a little bit so you can put your back a little upright. And if you're sitting on the floor, you can adjust your seat and upright your back so you can stay alert for a few minutes. And when you're ready, you can gently lower your gaze or simply close your eyes as if you were to fall asleep. And once you close your eyes, you may notice that your mind continues to wander a lot. And the first thing we try to do in practice of meditation is be okay with our wandering mind. For a few seconds, let's observe our mind. You may notice temptation to open your eyes. Again, it's okay to have those temptations as long as you do not react to them. As we get ready to practice mindfulness for a few seconds, like Bhante Santi mentioned, I really appreciate all of your presence here today. You decided to be here and practice meditation with us, talk about the Dhamma for a few minutes, and reflect on meaningful teachings of the Buddha. We show gratitude to the Buddha, all the monks, those who preserved the Buddha's teaching, and the teaching itself that carries meaningful lessons to make our life worthwhile and successful. With that attitude, direct your attention to your breathing. Let your breath flow as naturally as they do. You don't need to control your breath. Just gently place your attention on the tip of your nose or right above your upper lip. And this time try to pay close attention to incoming breath. Wherever you feel sensation, whether it is nostril or your upper lip, pay close attention to those sensations. As you breathe in, you may notice slightly cold air entering through your nostril. Notice the sensation of that coldness. As you breathe out, you may notice a slightly warmer air passing through your nostril. Continue to place your attention on your nostril or on the upper lip. Now this time, when you breathe in, make a mental note. Breathing in, breathing in, breathing in. And you may notice a brief pause between your incoming breath and your outgoing breath. Notice the pause. Make another mental note. When you start breathing out, make a mental note and say to yourself softly in your mind, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out. Another brief pause. Continue observing your incoming breath and outgoing breath with mental notes. As you observe your inhale and exhale, you may notice some breaths are longer than the others. You can make another mental note. A long breath coming in, a long breath coming in, a long breath coming in. The pause, a long breath going out, long breath going out, long breath going out. If you are mindful of from the beginning of your incoming breath to the end of outgoing breath, that we call a mindful of one breath cycle. Continue using the breath cycle as a vehicle to stay mindful, stay alert, and vigilant. Breathe in without any expectation, reflecting on the constant change in the sensation of incoming breath. Breathe out with experiential reflection on impermanence of sensation in outgoing breath. If you notice any kind of discomfort in any part of your body, that tempts you to shift your attention or shift your body to accommodate the discomfort, you can take a pause from your focus from the breath and shift it to the spot where you notice this sensation. You can label it as unpleasant sensation. And closely observe it without reacting to it. Notice the sensation doesn't remain the same. Either it expands, spreads, shift, or start to fade away. Pay close attention to those sensation changes without judgment, with curiosity. And when the sensation has subsided, go back to your breath. Continue attending to incoming breath and outgoing breath. Let's be mindful of one last cycle of breath. As you remain seated and eyes closed, let's shift our attention from practice of mindfulness to loving kindness. You will hear a few prompts. As you hear them, please repeat them in your mind and try your best to feel the meaning of those words and say to yourself as you really meant them. May I be free from hatred. May I be free from ill will. May I be free from jealousy. May no harm come to me. May no trouble come to me. May I take care of myself happily. May I be free from suffering. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. Like myself, my parents, caregivers, grandparents, my teachers and masters, my partner and children, my relatives and all family members, my best friends, and good people in my life, my colleagues and co-workers, all the human beings that I'm in touch with, all the human beings in this neighborhood, in my neighborhood, my town, city, state, country, and the whole world. All the living beings in this entire universe, large and small, near and far, weak and strong, rich and poor. Born and unborn, may they all be free from hatred. May they all be free from ill will and jealousy. May they all be free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no trouble come to them. May they all take care of themselves happily. May they be free from suffering. May they all live in peace and harmony. May they all be well, happy, and peaceful. May we all live in peace and harmony. May we all be well, happy, and peaceful. I seek forgiveness from those whom I offended, intentionally or unintentionally, mentally, physically, or verbally. May they all forgive my mistake. I forgive all of them, those who offended me, intentionally or unintentionally, mentally, verbally, or physically. I forgive all of them. May we all live in peace and harmony. May we all be well, happy, and peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. You may open your eyes when you're ready. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in that brief meditation, loving kindness, and mindfulness practice. As always, I'm always happy to join this Dhamma group and practice meditation with you, and also share some of the teachings from the Buddha. Today I was planning to continue with what we talked last month, I believe. Was it last month? It should be last month. Less than a month. So I came back sooner than I normally do. We were talking about death, and if you didn't hear me talking last session, and I just want to remind you, I'm not trying to scare you about death, and I don't need to, because we all know it's a part of human nature. Today I wanted to talk, how can we use this concept of death to make our life better. There's a really meaningful teaching in Anguttara Nikaya. This was a story about, it's a fictional story that Buddha used to explain why do we need to be mindful about death. And the story goes, that when a person dies, there is, in every culture, every religion, I believe even in a country, have a story about what happens after you die, right? If you go to Sri Lanka, there are a lot of art related to after death scenes, so very scary. It will be somewhat make people anxious, but I think in those days, in 5th century, 10th century, people used those art to communicate, hey, we need to think about our life, and it is going to change. So this story has, the story in the sutta has similar reference. When this person died and he was taken by, they call Devaduta. So it's the messenger of the god, or the messenger from a different world. He takes this person and he was interviewed in the world, not human world, in a different world. In the interview, typically they ask, have you ever reflected about some of the conditions in life? So he was asked few layers of questions, but I'll keep it short. The person was asked, have you ever seen an aging person? And the answer, as if it were to you, he said, yes, I have seen old people. The people, as they grow older, you've seen that. And have you seen the person who is sick? Of course, we have seen sick person. And have you seen somebody who's dead? And yes, we've seen it. That is a first stage of question. And if you say that yes, you're already in a good position in that interview. The next question is, when you saw them, did you ever think that you would be aging as well? You would be getting sick as well, and you'd be dying as well. And if you say, no, I never thought about it, that's a problem, because you might have different consequences. But the sutta used to reflect, how do we know whether we are reflective of these conditions, and how do we know that we are changing? And we can talk about impermanence all the time. Sometimes it's a concept that we talk, but are we really reflective about impermanence? Now, impermanence is, in Buddhism, it comes to the very subtle change, like we were doing the meditations. If we connect to meditation, there is a constant arising and passing away, right? That upada, bhanga. Upada is the arising, and the bhanga is dissolving of that experience. So the concept of death of a person is not any that different than that momentary change. So when we practice, when we think like I'm being reflective of impermanence, actually it's not I understand the concept, it is I experience the concept, which is, I try to use a part of being mindful of your sensation. Right? When you think of sensation, we notice pain, and most of the time humans, we react to the sensation. We don't give a chance to respond. And I like to distinguish these two. When you think of reacting, it's more instinctual. We feel pain and we immediately try to run away from it. We do something about it so we don't feel pain anymore. Whether you're sitting, practicing meditation, or it's a more larger change in life, you try to run away from the experience. Whereas when you think of response, that's where this being mindful helps. Mindfulness is a way to, in a different way to explain, is you're buying a split second before you do or say something. So being mindful means you take that very millisecond pause to do something about that experience. And that millisecond allows you to see the true nature. And that's what the Buddha's teaching is about. Can you see the nature as it is? Can you experience the nature as it is? Now, going back to the topic on death, the Buddha's teaching, when we think about the what is suffering or dissatisfaction, all those steps, 8 folds of dissatisfaction and sometimes more, they all try to connect how we continue to grow older, get sick, and eventually die. And people, when people are not reflective of that, we take it for granted. I think I mentioned about this sutta in our last meeting. And if you were to do your math, how many days? So from that day to now, you already lost a couple of days because you already lived those days. Now, in the remaining time, what is the Buddha's teaching? Why do we need to think about death? Well, there are a couple places that you can think of. One application, when you are reflective of death, is in Dhammapada. Some of you might know, it's a well-known collection of Buddha's teaching. There's one place about how to let go of our anger, how to let go of some of the grudges we have. People continue to continue to have strong feelings toward other individuals despite the time has already lapsed, right? When we are upset at somebody, if you think from how mind works, that anger is only one thought moment. So that's one emotion. In Buddhism, we look at the consciousness and there is the mental factors. Anger is one mental factor. It was just one simple experience, whether it is misunderstanding or actual misdeed by another individual. So when you take that one simple action that led you to be angry, and you hold on to that and you make so many copies, right? You create multiple copies of that single experience. You might be regretful. You might think, I should have said more. I should have done something more. I should have not been there, or I should have been more assertive. So all those aftermath thoughts are actually, you're making more copies of the same experience. And that gets heavy. That becomes very hard to let go. And some of you might have individuals or yourself that, in the joke that I tell, when we practice loving kindness, we try to include everybody, right? We try to include your family members, friends, everyone that we know and also not know. And sometimes people say, I practice loving kindness, but I exclude X, Y, and Z from my practice. Because even to include in that simple mental gesture, you're not doing anything. It's like mentally saying it. We cannot include them. And sometimes people only do in the practice itself, but loving kindness should be done in all 3 levels. In your action, when you meet your partner, when you see your friends, do you show the same loving kindness in your action? Do you use the words that is reflective of your loving kindness practice? And we know most people are good at sitting and practicing. Once you get out, the practice out of window. And there in Sri Lanka, you're good here. You put shoes in the right place. But in Sri Lanka, we have big crowd, right? People get really upset right after the session because I'm missing my shoes. I'm missing one shoes, and the practice was gone within less than a few minutes. So sitting practice to taking out will be harder. So when you think of that anger and the practice itself, those strong emotions can take a toll on you. And Buddha reminded in Dhammapada, when you have such a strong feeling towards somebody, you can use that as a way to reduce that strong feelings. Because if you think, one day I have to die, what is the point of holding grudge against anybody? So that's one way to use that to help yourself, right? The other important part is we know the hatred, that's one. The second one is strong attachment. Now, strong attachment is hard to let go, as if we're going to live forever. We feel like this, everybody in their own levels. I'm a student, I teach, my friend Leon is here, he's a student. We're in pursuit of something, right? We all have some ambition, we all have some goals. But if you don't think about that, then that becomes our identity. Now, you must have heard in Buddhism, to become a stream enterer, the very first stage of enlightenment, the difficult part is sakkaya ditthi, letting go of that I concept, right? This I is not a not some kind of a supernatural force. The I is that what we create through our senses. In more philosophical term, it would be your form, rupa, vedana, how you feel, right? Your perceptions and your dispositions and your own consciousness. That is how we create this I concept, right? The way you look, and we start holding on to it. I should not look any different than the perfect. And that becomes the challenge, that becomes the attachment. And same thing about the feeling. We have certain feelings that we really like to experience, and when those experiences come in, we don't want to let go. So that's one type of attachment. The other type of attachment is like we try to push away the feelings that is not pleasant to us. So there you go, we build our sense of I, right? And the third one is your perception. That comes from reading, that comes from experience, and we start to develop our identity on those experiences. We start to put labels on it. We start to claim ourselves as, I'm Buddhist, you're not, you're Christian, I'm not. All those labeling, we're creating this sense of I. And the disposition is, I have done so many good things. That becomes our identity. And it's a laughable story sometime when I was a monk, I used to challenge people. If you're donating, if you're giving something, try to give without any labels, especially the follow-up praise or follow-up consequences. Because if you want to convert your merit into wholesome action, that should be there. The reflection of letting go should be there. Not like I'm giving so I can get more. That is merit. Now, when you take a plate of rice, you don't need to wish that after you've done with that plate of rice that you're full. You don't need to wish for it. If you continue to eat, you will be satiated, right? You don't need any more food. So just like that, when you give, I want merit is just like, you get full after you eat. You don't need to wish for it. It's a byproduct of giving. Whether you wish it or not, it will be the karmic force, karmic result. But the more meaningful way to do is, can I reflect on my attachment? And as I practice giving material things or my time, my energy, there are many ways you can donate, you can give. Every time you do, can you think of, I'm practicing let go. I'm practicing to let go of things. Because when time comes, we have to depart this world. If you have not done that mental training, that day will be very hard, my friends. It will be very hard because the dearest thing that you have is yourself, and you have to let go of that. Not going to be easy. That's why, in Buddhism, people, those who are very first introduced to Buddhism, Buddha always start with Dana Katha, Sila Katha, Sagga Katha. He gives you very enticing stories. The first one is like, oh, you want to learn Buddhism, practice giving. And you hear a lot in Buddhism. Some people ask, why it's so much about giving, giving, giving? Well, that's the easiest thing to do, and that's the good place to start. You can connect. But the deeper meaning of giving is I'm preparing myself to depart. So not to have that strong sense of I. And consciousness is like how we perceive things, how we understand certain ideas. So those 5 builds up to this attachment. That's how we create a sense of I, and that is very difficult to let go. Doesn't matter which form of life we are in. I'm from Nepal, so we have very different lifestyle. I was telling Leon about the drive. We have a lot of traffic. There's more people than vehicles, so the vehicles are slower than people when you go on the street in Nepal. And I come from that country. Some of you come from different places, but I have a story that might connect. I'll end with that. Why do we need to think about that? Because number one, it helps to let go of strong negative emotions, anger, hatred, right? The aversion, it's the worst part of negative thoughts. That helps you to think, hey, I should not hold on to these feelings because one day this life comes to end. The other part is like thinking about that helps you to not to have strong attachment to any form, any of these 5 aggregates, so to speak, which creates the concept of this sense of I. The story is about two gods. They were living in, of course, heaven, right? And now this is Buddhist story, so don't get me wrong if you have a different understanding about gods. We have a lot of gods in Buddhism. And in Nepal, there's about, I think, 33 million gods, more than human population in Nepal. So there's a lot of gods. These two guys did very good karma. They were good deeds, led them to be born in heaven. And as they live there, they have the psychic power to see what happens to them next. So they are subtle beings, right? They're able to see one of them will be soon. That's where impermanence apply. Even the heavenly blessing will come to an end. Even it's in millions of years, it has an end. So they notice that their time is coming. The time to depart the heaven is approaching. The two friends, very good friends, probably like Leon and I, right? So they're good friends. They made a pledge to each other. They looked at it. One of them will be born as a crow after departing from that heaven. The other one will be born as a worm in a cow dung. Pretty bad, right? The guy who will be born as a crow felt good because I'm at least a crow. The other guy felt really bad. They talked, what can we do about it? And they discussed, came up with a plan. Okay, if you are born in a cow dung, that's really bad. So when we are born in those places, why don't you save me? So the friend, they talked, and the friend who will be a crow said, I'm going to come there on a certain day, and I'll make some noise. You come out of the dung, I'll eat you, and I'll release you from that life. So you're free from miserable life. It's pretty bad, right? And they agreed. As time elapsed, as they saw, one of them disappeared. They don't die. In Buddhist concept, gods don't die, they just disappear. He disappeared, and he was born as a crow. The other one was born as a cow dung, a worm in a cow dung. So the time came, they grew up big, and the crow remembered the promise that he made to a friend. Went to that place and started making some noise, and the worm friend who was in the worm came out with a bunch of other worms and came out and like, why are you making so much noise? Do you remember we made a promise? So I'm supposed to free you from there. And the worm asked, how? I'm going to kill you so you will be free from that miserable life. Like, you kidding me? I had the best life here. So don't you dare to take away my happiness. So, of course, it's a fictional story to tell. We think some people have bad life. Some life states are not so good. Like we see, I worked in jail. I've seen a lot of homeless individuals. I've seen people with other disabilities. We think that life is so miserable. But our attachment to life is very strong. Doesn't matter what forms of life we have. Those life attachment is very strong. So one way to reduce, we can't get rid of it overnight. One way to reduce that strong attachment to this concept of I, my life, is thinking about death, using it as a reflection, like one day I have to face this. So it's better if I don't build a strong ego around it. It's better if I don't continue to hold on to my position, my title, in any form. That will be another use, right? So the last part, I'll end with this little reflection. Buddha used analogy, used the Dhamma as a mirror. So it's not, he used many analogies. One we shared, like as a vehicle to cross the river. The other one is used as a mirror. You look at your mirror to find where are some of your flaws. You check how you look. And that should be the use of Dhamma. When you look at it, it's not to argue, it's not to brag, it's not to put some other people down, but to see where I am at. So I'll end with, how many things I said I'll end with? So I can say adding more. So the reflection that monks, when I was younger, we have to do is like, Katam Buddha Samerating Diva Viti Patantiti Pabbajitena Binnang Pachevekitabang. As humans, it was for monks, but as humans, let's be reflective about our day and night. How am I spending my day and night? Am I getting any better in my journey? Am I getting little less attached to my own self-concept? Now, we didn't even talk about the other people around us, but only ourselves. And am I getting somewhat less angry about my past, my emotions? So that would be a good place to keep the concept of death and contemplate on. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Sai. I think you all have a lot of questions, so you can
Let's
ask.
start with yours, Bante. What did you?
Well, I think you mentioned how many 32 million they
Yes,
gave us.
it is Tungkodi.
Yes, in Sri
Yeah.
Lanka, same.
They must have migrated from Nepal.
I think most Asian countries, I believe, like very similar.
Yeah.
But we don't know whether we have like that much. But when you some kind of when you blessing to the somebody, okay, 32,000 million or whatever the God bless you something. You talk. All right, that's my question finished. So other question.
Yes. Remind me your name?
Ben.
Ben. Yes, Ben.
So this could be a dumb question, but if we strip away all of the aggregates, right, and we recognize that as not self,
Mm-hmm.
my question is, what's left? What is there if we
That's a
strip
good
everything
question.
away?
Yes. It's not the extreme. So that's one extreme to look at. One way to look at is there is like I think the sort of eternalism, like this continues without end, or the other one is an annihilism, which is there is nothing in there. But if you think from like a cause and effect causality perspective, that continues to produce result. So we still continue to move on from life to life without any essence. And what is left is what we will become next. The karma continues to produce new life, right? And the other way to put it is, if you think of 5 aggregates, those 5 aggregates are like the analogy might help better. If you were trying to create a lamp, you have a lamp and you use that lamp to light another lamp, right? And this lamp you put off. So what do you call the next lamp? Do you call this lamp produce that, or this lamp transfer to the next one? So there is we believe in this karmic force that continue to produce new life. So it's not empty, it's not void from everything, but it's not something you can like claim it's mine. That's what keeps us going in this cycle. I don't know if I was. We can talk about. I like to talk about 5 aggregates a little more, but does that help?
It does.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ben. Bante, you have a question?
No question. Huh?
Well, everybody dies.
Yeah. Yes,
know.
Stephen.
You
You have.
know, I heard something not yesterday, maybe a couple days ago, but someone, a professor was talking about how they had done a study amongst professors to see how long they were willing to wait after they posed a question for hear a response from the students before they just decided to answer the question for themselves. And it ended up being something woefully short, like maybe 5 seconds, 6 seconds.
Oh, really?
Of just like posing something to the class, and then just sitting and waiting. And like 1, 2, and then, all right, so anyway, and then like
Okay.
how uncomfortable we can be with silence.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing when we're up here and we're like, anyone have any questions? And, you know, my wife likes to say something very kind. She goes, well, you know, if people have any questions, you must have taught so well that they had no questions.
Oh, you made no sense at all. So
There's also, but
yes.
there was one let's see, saying from the discourses that you were sort of, I could tell, kind of translating across multiple languages to kind of get to the heart of it, right? And it's something that I like too, that I've also heard translated a bunch of different ways, because it's been translated from Pali into Thai into English, in my tradition at least, which is the idea that days and nights are flying past. What am I doing right now?
Yes, that's very much similar to Katam Buddha Samera thing, Diva Viti Patanti. Yes, yes.
It's the same thing.
Yes.
But in the Thai, it ended up changing to what am I doing, right? It's like days and nights are flying past. What am I doing right now? Right? Which I think is a wonderful way of phrasing it, like in terms of the practice, like in terms of these activities that we're doing.
Yes.
You know? So
That
it's
is
just something that I
true.
wanted to share, a different way of
Yes.
like,
I missed you last time. I know you have a good way to phrase some of the Pali that I lack. Yes. But no question, that's good. But I hope you will. And one good practice, I started with this stanza. I think Bante can give you. It's a good reminder. And when we chant, it's like a Namami Buddhang Gunasagarantang. You know, I respect the Buddha who has limitless virtues. Satta sada honti sukhi awera. May all living beings be free from hatred, and may they all be happy. And kayo jugutcho sakalo dugando. It's like using our body to think of impermanence, how it continue to change, how our thought continue to evolve, how our likes and dislikes continue to evolve. And the last one is kayo jugutcho sakalo dugando gachanti sabbe maranang ahancha. Including everybody, including myself, will eventually die. It's again not to add anxiety, not to make you scared of, but it's a good reflection. And I hope you will, you picked a few things or something and try to use that as a mirror to learn more, and also use to make your life somewhat better than today. Yes, Bante. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Sai. We will chant page 4 and page 10. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Deluding peasants are inexhaustible. I vow to save them all. Dhamma gates are limitless. I vow to save them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fellows be. May the grieving shadow grieve, and the sick find relief. Thank you again for everybody. Especially thanks for the Sai. I
Thank you,
mean,
Bante.
he's coming all the way. What is called your area?
Eastvale.
East Valley. Yes. So thanks for the being with us here for everybody. Um, I think we have tea and cookies also. And next week, I think who's going to give a Dhamma talk? Kashanti. Kashanti is going to give a Dhamma talk. I may not hear because I may have to go to the New Year celebration because of the April 13, 14, around that time Sri Lankan New Year's. So in that weekend we have some kind of festival, different place, in different temple and some, it's a culture. So we may go in somewhere. Plus, in month of the May also we are very busy. We go to different temple for the Vesak celebration, but somebody will be here all the time. So we're not going to close or anything. Okay, thanks again for everybody. Um, so by the power of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, you all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. It's very next to Corona.
It's a little past, right? A little further than Corona.